when it comes to Elon Musk or Donald Trump or anybody, I don't worship idols. I don't follow false idols. So I worship God. I believe in God. If you don't, that's fine. I'm not going to turn this into a religious sermon for those who aren't religious. But in general, I don't idolize or worship human beings like they're gods. And if I agree with Donald Trump or I disagree with Donald Trump, it doesn't mean I agree with everything he says. It doesn't mean I disagree with anything he says. And it's not riding the fence. It's just me being a unique individual. You should be one too. And it's the same with Elon Musk. When I compliment Elon Musk or I say I think he's telling the truth because he is about this situation, everybody starts screaming at me, well, you don't know what he's doing. You don't know about the mark of the beast. You don't know about his satellites. Guys, I go topic to topic. Just because I agree with what Elon Musk is saying about COVID-19, I don't necessarily agree with everything else he's doing. But, however, when it comes to Neuralink and the satellites and such, we're going to talk about that today too, because I think people get so emotional that they've just lost all objectivity. So that's the first thing I'm going to say before I even get into this. I don't follow false idols. And I think a lot of people, when I compliment Elon, they're people who idolize and follow Donald Trump as if he's a deity. So they project their, idol worship onto me and think that I'm idol worshiping Elon, whereas I just don't do that. I worship God. I love God. I love, the world, but I don't look at any of these people in 100% agreement because we're different people. So that's the first thing right off the jump, just to dispel any sort of compliment or criticism. Oh my God, you disagree with it. It's like, guys, just stop. Keep it to yourself. So on this note, I'm going to start with probably this clip right here, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing Elon said. I mean, he said a lot of really crazy stuff. We're going to talk about it. But this is him explaining to Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan's kind of shilling the whole time. I like Joe. But he's kind of like playing the game of like, Elon, what are you talking about? And Elon defiantly explains how all the data is fake. And Joe tries to resist it. And Elon, this is the best minute of the whole podcast, in my opinion, although it's all great. He just schools Joe Rogan on how it's really being counted. Listen.
You don't even need to have gotten a COVID diagnosis. Right. You simply need to have had one of many symptoms and then have died for some reason. And it's COVID. So then it makes the death count look very high, and then we're then stuck in a bind because it looks like the death count's super high and not going down like it should be, and now so then we should keep whatever keep the shelter in place stuff there and keep people in their home, confine people in their homes. So we need to break out of this. We're stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
And I think the way to break out of this loop is to have clarity of information.
Clarity of information will certainly help, but...
And then Joe tries to, turn the subject. But anyway, Elon, he goes on the whole thing is pretty cool, but he goes on a 10-minute thing and explains exactly how the data is wrong. And I like Donald Trump in certain elements. I disagree with him. I like Elon. I disagree with Elon in certain elements. But overall, Elon's 1,000% right about this, and Donald Trump still doesn't understand that or won't tell you for whatever reason. And what Elon's saying is, we're stuck in a loop. We're stuck in a loop of fake data, and until we get clarity of information, we're never getting out of this loop. We're never going back to normal, and it's very important. So he said before this, anybody with COVID-like symptoms, they're counting that as COVID-19. And if you look at the symptoms for COVID-19, what isn't a symptom at this point? Coughing, this, that. So very common symptoms that are, infect hundreds of millions of people per year in this country. Literally, probably at least half the population get one of the symptoms. They're saying COVID-like symptoms, they can put you as a COVID-19 death. New York City's already done thousands of them. They put thousands of people that they think had symptoms, so they just assume they had COVID-19, even though the symptoms are very common symptoms for a lot of diseases and viruses. So it's crazy. He also said, what we've talked about here a lot, is anybody with COVID-19 that dies, they're saying died from COVID-19. So Elon in this podcast, he uses the example, if someone gets eaten by a shark and, their arm washes up on shore and their arm has COVID, that's a COVID-19 death. And Joe tries to say, you're joking and that's an extreme example. And where are you getting this from? And Elon goes hard at Joe and he says, it's not an example, Joe. Thank God, because Joe's always like, I like the New York Times and CNN. It's like, we get it, Joe. But, Elon's like, it's not my theory. This is how they're counting the deaths. And until Joe Rogan understands that, maybe he doesn't want to talk about it or whatever, until Donald Trump says it, until anybody, I don't really care who says it or not, it's the truth. That is the deception. And like he said in that clip, we're in a loop until we realize the game they're playing. the numerator's wrong, the denominator's wrong, the mortality rate's wrong, how they're calculating deaths is wrong, how they're classifying deaths is wrong, not even counting if the tests are accurate or not. We could leave that for another day, which is going to be tomorrow. I'm going to do a whole video on it. The whole system's wrong. So, and Donald Trump keeps shilling for that system. I'm not saying I like Elon more than Donald. I'm just saying Elon Musk, idol worship aside, treating human beings like deities aside, Elon Musk is telling the truth about this. Donald Trump is lying about this. And until people realize this, the cycle is never going to end. Elon also went on to say that they're putting hospitals in a very big dilemma. Joe Rogan the whole time was kind of playing the liberal angle of like the news, like, oh no, this isn't happening. And literally everything that Joe tried to say, Elon just shut him down. He explained most of the hospitals are being underwhelmed and they're vacant, which is true. And he said they're in a dilemma. Check this box, COVID-19, you get $8,000. Put them on a ventilator, you get $3,800, or you have to fire doctors because you don't have enough people there, which is true. That's the option that they're giving to certain hospitals. More COVID-19 patients or deaths, more money you get, more people on ventilators, more money you get. Don't get enough money. Maybe you were going bankrupt previously, or you're going bankrupt now because you canceled elective surgeries. Elon also went on to say that elective surgeries are not just plastic surgery like boob jobs and stuff. Elective surgery is also people getting cancer treatment, people getting a hip replacement, people getting like serious surgeries are considered elective surgeries. So Elon made the very important point. People are going to die because of what they're doing to the hospital industry. It's all messed up. He also really said, and we're going to talk about Neuralink later because I know that's what people really want to hear. But on the COVID-19 and civil liberties situation, I'm not saying the guy's perfect. I'm not an idol worshiper. I'm not going to agree with everything he's ever doing. So don't suggest I am. I'm just taking part by part, and we're going to accurately talk about it instead of idol worshiping some and just shutting down others because they don't, you disagree with them completely. But he said civil liberties are important. And he kept saying, he's like, this country, people died for freedom in this country. We gave it up too easily. He said this fundamentally violates the Constitution. Elon said, it's my opinion. You could stay home if you want, but I don't think that healthy people should have to stay home. And anybody that's immune compromised, he says, I think they should be allowed to take a risk. So, he's very strong on this, even stronger than the president. He's like, this is crazy what's going on. He also said the idea that you could just send out checks to everybody isn't going to make the economy work. And it seemed like he even took a shot at socialists and said, you think that people who get more money from capitalism just stole it from somebody? Elon said that's not true. If you don't make stuff and you don't create stuff, stuff doesn't exist. So Elon's trying to explain to whoever it is, whether it be left-wing or right-wing, who thinks we could just shut down the country for 6 months and just get checks. He's like, stuff isn't just created from thin air. If you don't make stuff, it doesn't happen. If there's not drivers, if there's not meat factories, you can't just legislate checks to everybody and expect society is going to... It doesn't work that way. It doesn't matter if Mnuchin says it, Donald Trump says it, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says it, or Bernie Sanders says it. Doesn't matter if you love him or hate him. That's not how America works, and it's never going to work that way, virus or not. So this idea that, Mnuchin checks are going to keep us afloat, that's not... It's a temporary solution that's very, very extremely short-sighted. And I'm glad he kind of took a shot at socialism. He said, people have become detached from reality. We're going to run out of food when the machine grinds to a halt. He went on a lot about, he saw it in China. He said that it was like watching the same story, but in English. It was pretty funny. But overall, I'm going to get to Neuralink in a second. You can watch the interview. People can say what they want. Every time I talk about this stuff, people say, but Anomaly, he's doing this, he's doing that. I'm going to talk about it in a second, but just because I like Donald Trump doesn't mean I have to make excuses when he tells a lie or doesn't tell the real statistics. Just because I don't agree with everything that Elon's doing with SpaceX or Neuralink doesn't mean that I can't acknowledge that he's 100% right about this whole situation. I mean, him on Joe Rogan speaking about COVID-19 is more accurate than Donald Trump has been this entire time. It's more accurate than Trump, Fauci, and every Republican. That's not my fault for noticing that, And it's interesting because the people who get upset when I compliment Elon, they are idol worshipers. It's a lot of the people who are like a PR team for the president. No matter what he does, they make excuses and lie with them. They project their idol worship onto me, and they think I'm an idol worshiper of Elon. It's like I'm not. He's right about this, And, Trump's wrong. That's just a fact. And the more people who realize this is how we break out of it. Everyone said to me, how do we get out of this? Guys, I'm going to play this clip again because it really does explain it in 10 seconds. We're stuck in a loop. Until people realize how this is operating, it's a never-ending game. So if you want to just say it's not happening because Trump said it is, that's part of the loop, guys. It's never going to end. Let's listen.
Confine people to homes. So we need to break out of this. We're stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
And I think the way to break out of this loop is to have clarity of information.
It's the only way, guys. Clarity of information. When you have false denominators, false denominators, fake mortality rates, fake projections of 2 to 3 million people dying, everything's fake. It's never going to end. How they're counting, if you cough, that could be a COVID-like symptom. You die because you coughed. You could be 85 with a heart attack. COVID-19. This is how they're calculating, guys. This game never ends. Before we get into Neuralink, which is very interesting and important, I also want to point out that Elon was explaining there's really nowhere to go for good news. Joe Rogan tried to say he liked the New York Times and LA Times, and he even shilled for CNN a little bit and was like saying, they're supposed to be a good news source, and Elon Musk was like, they're not a good news source. So I appreciate the guy. I think he's pretty straightforward. And before we get into Neuralink, with people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump, they're all very different. But the most exciting thing you could really understand about them all is all you have to do is listen to them to understand what they think. They could be a little sneaky. They could lie every now and then. But if you listen to people say, where did you hear that about Bill Gates? He says it. He explains what he's doing. He explains his agenda. He might call it reproductive health or give it names and stuff. Just listen to Bill Gates and you could figure out what his agenda is. He'll say it to you. Listen to Donald Trump. The best part about the Trump presidency is Trump is very straightforward. You don't have to guess how Trump feels. He'll just tell you. You get what I'm saying? Trump's great for that. And it's the same with Elon Musk. They all explain themselves very thoroughly. You might not agree with it. I might not agree with what Donald Trump said about the death rate. I don't have to. He's not my God. I have a God and it's not a human. So overall, it's okay. And same with Elon Musk and Bill Gates. But this idea that, I don't know, people just bug out there. Just listen to what he says, and he'll explain exactly what he thinks about it. And I have to give him this compliment before we move on. Elon Musk is 1,000% right about COVID-19. And if everybody in conservative news was as accurate as Elon is with explaining where the death rate and the numbers come from, our country would be free a lot quicker than what people are doing now. That's just a fact. So moving on, we're going to talk about Neuralink. A lot of people call this the mark of the beast. I mean, a lot of people call everything the mark of the beast, but this has some legitimacy in it because Neuralink is Elon Musk's computer technology system of some sort where it's going to put somewhat of a computer into the human brain. It would be drilling out a piece of your brain. He explains it today. Drilling it out and putting a chip in there. And, it's frightening to people who don't want to hear that stuff. I mean, computers, humans, AI, it's all really scary. If you're scared, I'm not scared, but you get what I'm saying? It's not what you want to hear. It's overwhelming. However, when it comes to this type of stuff, I think even this, vaccines, pills, whatever, I'm all for medical freedom. Before anything, I don't care. If people want to put a shot in their body, they can do that. Just don't force me to do it. If people want to put this in their brain, to me, that's fine. Just don't make me do it. And the same with pills. I believe in medical freedom over tyranny. So first off the jump, I disagree with anybody who's trying to force injections or brain things into people. That's obvious. However, I think a lot of people don't want to listen to what Elon's saying and understand what's really going on. And I'm going to say it, and it's not shilling, it's not lying, it's just being accurate about stuff that people don't want to admit. So one really good point that Elon makes about Neuralink and in general is we're already a cyborg. We're already symbiotic with artificial intelligence. If you're watching me right now, I'm not in your living room or in your yard or God knows where you are. I see you. Watch yourself. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know where you are. But overall, I'm not with you. Right now, we live in virtual reality. I'm talking into my phone, yet I'm talking to a stadium filled with 6,000 people. It's insane to think about. This is all virtual reality. If you watch television and you're on your cell phone or your iPad or your laptop, for 5 to 10 hours a day, or God forbid, like me, like 12 hours a day sometimes when I'm working. I'm like, oh my God, what does that mean if I'm on my phone for 12 hours a day? That means I live half my life in virtual reality. It's frightening. It's already happening. People just don't want to think it's happening because it's scary to think about. But when my phone says you've been on your phone for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, guys, that means half my day I live in virtual reality. I'm already basically a cyborg, and it's frightening, and it makes me want to smash my phone and go move on an island somewhere and act like the Amish. So as frightening as what Elon's talking about, and I do agree there's effects to it, and people can be skeptical of it. The difference between me and you right now and what Elon Musk is doing is a smaller difference than you think, and it's a smaller difference between me and you and the Amish. If you want to go full away from computers, I think the Amish have it right. They're just having babies on babies, churning butter. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at us like you guys are the cyborgs. You guys already have Neuralink. We're churning butter over here, and you guys are pandemicking, whatever you want to call it. So, I think that point is something that's going to be missed from the podcast, is that we are a cyborg already. If you spend 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 hours in front of a television screen, computer, or phone, you're already symbiotic with the technology, whether you want to admit it or not. And if you look at artificial intelligence, it's growing. It's in Facebook, it's in YouTube, it's in all the things already. We just don't see it. It's not like iRobot where, you're Will Smith fighting a robot. It's so ingrained in our life that it's very subtle. And Elon Musk's whole strategy with Neuralink is if you can't beat them, join them, which is frightening, and I understand why people are skeptical about it. I am as well. But he explained early on, he thinks that it could possibly potentially cure people. That's what he's kind of saying, where if you have brain damage like dementia or Alzheimer's, he's thinking that at a certain point, it could actually heal your, your brain damage. It could give you sight or hearing, So on a cure scale, that's something that's interesting. I mean, people could be frightened of it and think it's a trick or a trap. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just talking about it unbiasedly for now, and then I'll give my perspective at the end. But, people have right now artificial hearts, artificial limbs. What if you could bring back, the mind power of one of your family members with dementia with Neuralink? I guess that's the upside of it. The obvious downside is you just let scientists drill a hole into your brain, and place a computer there. So the downsides are obvious, the risks are obvious, but there is a reward as well. And I think his philosophy on it, whether you agree or disagree, a lot of people think this is the mark of the beast. And that's, in Revelations in the Bible. If you don't believe that, that's fine. But a lot of Christians are always speculating as what could be the mark of the beast. The end times. Is it going to be the microchip, that some people think that is going to come from, billionaires like Bill Gates? Is it going to be the brain implant that comes from Elon Musk? Is it going to be something different? Everyone's always speculating. And I think, interestingly enough, in the Bible, it kind of says not to speculate. If you read Revelations, it kind of says not only, talks about a lot of stuff, but it says that, like, people will and humans will make projections of when they think it's going to happen. Like, you've always heard the priest or the pastor who says, it's going to end tomorrow. They've been saying that for hundreds of years. The pastor who's screaming at the top of his lungs that we're all going to die from 1985 to 1990. It's happened, but it actually, I believe, says in Revelations that you shouldn't do that you shouldn't try to, predict like you're God when it's going to happen. However, obviously, we're going to speculate when you got people trying to plant computer chips in our heads and such. So it is alarming, but I think he has a pretty interesting point that's going to not be heard because everybody's going to freak out about this, or at least in general. He says if you can't beat them, join them. And I think it reminds me, and this is just me taking my emotion and my don't put that in my head away from the situation. When it comes to armies, the left-wing people always say, not everybody, but a lot of people, they say, we need to lower our army. They want to defund the military. I agree with ending regime change wars. I think we should get out of the Middle East. I agree with left-wingers there, but I don't believe that we should downsize our army, because there's just ancient wisdom and reality of how the world works, and big bank take little bank. You know, you've ever heard that phrase? It's in rap music. It's, the big bank takes the small bank. The big boy takes the small boy. Even on a, you know, primate level, the big ape beats the little ape. That's just how the world works. Unfortunately, you know, we're not peaceful enough to not do that. So if America didn't have weapons, it's not like we would solve, you know, we can stop pollution and the world will stop polluting. No, China's still polluting. That's what the left-winger doesn't understand. Just because we stop doing it doesn't mean everybody follows suit. And when it comes to weapons and war and technology, if we stop doing it, China's not going to stop doing it. Saudi Arabia's not going to stop doing it. Israel's not going to stop doing it. The UK's not going to stop doing it. You know, name any other, you know, powerful country technologically. It just because we stop doesn't mean they're not going to do it. So as much as people will write this off, I think that's Elon's mindset in this. And honestly, I think it's one to consider, that just because I don't want to believe that artificial intelligence is going to be powerful, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It doesn't mean China's not going to do it. Bill Gates is not going to do it. Google, Facebook, everyone's doing it. And Elon's just saying, I'm doing it too, you know, and, you know, I'm going to try to join. He thinks that in order to survive, that people will have to merge with artificial intelligence. And I know that, you know, it sounds very end timesy, but overall, if you look at what's going on now, we're already merged with artificial intelligence. You know, I feel the same way that people do, where it's like, I don't want this to be in everybody's head, but I also don't want to be on the phone 10 hours a day, but I am. I can't help it. I work on the phone. My job is on the phone. I film videos for hours on the phone. I edit on my computer. I already live in a virtual reality simulation, which is why, you know, every year, or at least last year, I went on a cruise and I turned off my phone for 2 weeks. It was the best experience of my life. No phone, no internet, no nothing for 2 weeks, no connection. It was the most free, the most fun I've had ever. And I suggest I want to do that for a month. I'm, you know, just like everyone else, I want to disconnect from all this insanity. But in a weird way, as much as people really don't like Elon Musk, and a lot of people think he's, you know, demonic, the mark of the beast and stuff, out of everybody, it's the same with, like, who do you like better, Anomaly? Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, or Bernie Sanders? I like Donald Trump better. Even he's been disappointing me this last week. I don't even know who the guy is anymore these last couple weeks. I still prefer him over everyone else. You know, I think he's wrong, but I still like him more. And when you only have 3 or 4 options, I'm allowed to like Donald Trump and Republicans more. That's just how I feel. And when it comes to Elon Musk in the AI world, you know, so many people want to pressure me to say, Anomaly, Elon Musk is a bad guy. He's doing this with satellites. He's doing this with Neuralink. When I listen to Elon Musk talk, when I listen to Bill Gates talk, when I listen to all of them, I like Elon Musk better than all of them. Does it mean I 100% trust Elon Musk and I want to shoot a computer chip into my brain tomorrow? No, it doesn't mean that. But however, when I hear him talk, I see some real genuineness to what he's saying. I don't think he has this idea of taking over the world. I think Bill Gates plays God in the sense where Bill Gates wants to control the whole planet. I think I don't agree with anything the guy says. He creeps me out when he talks. I see no genuineness there. I'm not a big fan of Bill Gates, and I don't have to be. But when I hear Elon talk, I don't see this like insane, narcissistic, egotistical tyrant who just wants to control everybody. I don't think he's like that. I think he's like a really smart guy who's creative and fun and is like, you know what, I'm going to do this because everyone else is doing it, so I want to do it. I trust him more than everyone else. Doesn't mean I want to put a computer chip in my head, but unfortunately, I think people don't want to realize that we already are merging with artificial intelligence. So at a certain point, we're going to have to either do one of 2 things. We're going to have to take a stand and as a society really reject artificial intelligence and reject, you know, computer technology at large and do something about it, or it is going to be a continuous merge of humans and computers. It's not saying I want that to happen, but the reality of the situation now, if I really wanted to reject it, I would be not a Mormon, I would be an Amish. You know, I would go live in the woods, and you know, could be a smart move. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I would be quite the hypocrite, like a lot of people, if I said I reject our AI, but then I'm on it 10, 12 hours a day. How are you going to reject AI if you're on Twitter? That is AI. You are a cyborg. You carry your phone around. He made a good point. You feel like it's buzzing in your pocket and you don't even have it. It's like we're so attached to our computers right now. It's crazy. And overall, I'm not shilling for Neuralink. I'm just saying he made some very valid points about it, where obviously it has some upside, it has some downside, but overall, when it comes to him, Bill Gates or anybody else in the technology world, I just like him more. Doesn't mean I agree with everything. Same with his satellites and spaceships. I don't really agree with it. Honestly, I'm not a big space guy. I'm very skeptical of space. I'm very skeptical of space to almost an unhealthy level. So I don't know what he's doing up there. But I do appreciate him really holding it down for COVID-19, because this is massive right now. To me, the big power grab that I could witness is the COVID-19 power grab. And one of the only billionaires and technological leaders on the planet is Elon Musk, who's actually standing up for the people, saying all the right things. And I don't see it as a controlled op sort of thing. I mean, people have the right to feel that way. I don't really care either way. It's not gonna swing the flow of things. But I don't see him as lying to get people on his side. I think he's just kind of like a Trump of the technology world. He might do some things you disagree with. He might, launch some satellites you don't like. But I don't think he really minces his words very much. I think he's pretty straightforward about what he thinks. And hearing what he thinks, I think it's a valid point. And it's easy for me or other people to say that that's not right. But, Google's working on artificial intelligence. Facebook's working on artificial intelligence. Bill Gates working on artificial intelligence. China's working on artificial intelligence. And so is Elon Musk. He just happens to be, a little more creative with it. So, it's wildly interesting. But when it comes to that, I'm much more concerned at this moment with what's happening to our society. And I personally think, and this is just my thought, let me know what yours are. I personally think the people who are orchestrating this shutdown are trying to control humanity in a very nefarious way. And the fact that Elon is railing against this, he doesn't have to do this. He could literally do what Trump and everyone does. He could say, this is fine, this is good. The fact that he's railing against this makes me believe he might get too big for his britches. He might create technology that's risky and maybe harmful. But I don't think he's a nefarious person, personally. I think he's just extremely creative, and he's like Tony Stark style, like, I'm creating robot crap, and that's how I feel. Someone said, the end times also say, I'm going to read this comment, the end times also say someone will rise that people will love and follow blindly. Well, absolutely, and that's why I preface this in general, and I'm going to read some comments of your thoughts. You shouldn't idol worship. You know what? If you're Christian, you should know why. If you're another religion, you should know why. If you're not religious, you should know why as well. Worshipping human beings like an idol is very dangerous, whether it's Elon Musk, Donald Trump, anybody. And that you start to see that when you place a godlike love and a godlike allegiance to a human being, especially a politician or a world leader or a scientist, it becomes massively, massively unhealthy. You're going to get duped. You're going to get lied to. And there's too many people doing that. So I agree with that in general. And you start to see it now, like with politics, they kind of have people's mind controlled. One thing I like he said too is he said that he sympathized with the anti-globalists, like us, basically. He said, I sympathize with the anti-globalization because I see how it's bad that the whole world agrees on stuff. He called it a mind virus. He didn't say exactly what he was talking about, but it sounded like he was talking about liberalism and like this fake phony science that's going around, where he was like, if you're, he understands the concept of nationalism, even though he's all over the world. I mean, he said a lot of real stuff. I don't see the reason. Someone said, will there ever be an Elon Musk Bill Gates debate? There should be, but honestly, Elon would run circles around him. Elon's very straightforward, whether you agree with him or disagree with him. He disagrees with Bill Gates on almost everything, and it's because, in my opinion, he's a lot more close to the truth. Someone said Trump's not a bad person. He's definitely not a god. Yeah, I don't. At the end of the day, everybody's playing their game. Like, Elon is a scientist. Like, he wants to do crazy stuff. That's what he's doing. Trump is a businessman. He's the perfect guy to go in politics. Politics is a shady, shady, shady business, and Donald Trump is knee-deep in it. So I think it's more he's in over his head than he's a nefarious, terrible person. Or at the end of the day, he might not be the savior that people thought he was, and that's okay. It's unreal to go into such a corrupt system and be able to have a massive impact. It's just right now, in general, with Trump and Elon, I don't get too far detached from reality. I'm watching what's going on. I see how they're manufacturing the destruction of our country. I see that they're manipulating the data rates. Before Elon Musk even said anything, I didn't even reach out to Elon Musk. He shared my video. Never talked to him. Don't know anybody who knows him. It's not like I'm secretly connected. He just found the video of the Illinois, health official, and he's been saying all this stuff I've been saying for a month. So that doesn't mean anything. But it's like Trump, when push came to shove, I don't think he's a bad person, but he's doing all the wrong things. He's saying all the wrong things, and it's keeping people in a loop. It's a loop that's never going to end. You got Governor Murphy talking about Governor Cuomo. I don't know when I'm going to go back. We don't have a timetable. I wish I could tell you. Like, they don't know why they're saying that. They have no data. They have no reasoning. Hospitalizations are not massively skyrocketing. That's what they said. They said it was a high mortality rate. Elon Musk, in this interview, as far as COVID-19, he's saying all the right stuff. Not in a sense of like, oh, he agrees with me, so I like him. It's just the truth. Whether Trump says it, Obama says it, Elon says it, I say it, Dan Bongino says it, whatever. It doesn't matter who says it. The truth is the truth. True is true, and it's really important. So when push came to shove at the most important, crucial part of U.S. history, Trump is absent and completely wrong. And I just can't, I don't know any other way to spin that. Someone said everyone mentions Gates and Elon, but not Richard Branson. It's a good point. He definitely flies under the radar. Richard Branson, that's a powerful guy. He's involved with some galactic space stuff as well. It's interesting. Someone said, how the heck has Gates gone into so much stuff? I mean, you could look at the history, but Bill Gates' father was a very powerful man as well. He was like, there's pictures of him with the Rockefellers and such. So I think Bill Gates had some family ins there, and then he slowly, branched out and got involved in virtually everything. Let's see. Someone said Georgia regrets opening. They can't handle the overflow. Well, I don't think they regret handling because of the health reasons. I think they regret opening maybe because everybody's flocking to Georgia because it's the only free place in America right now. Where else can you be free besides Georgia? It's the freedom capital of the United States. So everyone probably went there so they don't get treated like a prisoner. Someone said, what's happening in Poland? Not quite sure. Someone said Cuomo's surprised 66% of new cases were from people who stayed home. Yeah, I'm doing a whole video on the Tanzania president and the Cuomo situation, but the whole thing is a lie. The New Jersey governor's lying, Cuomo's lying. I can't figure out why people who never left the house got COVID, because being indoors is worse than being outside. We don't know how accurate the tests are. They're not testing people, and thank God, I don't care what people think about Elon. Thank God he went on the biggest podcast in the world and told people it's not even just if you get COVID and you died from COVID. Guys, they're saying anybody with COVID-like symptoms has COVID-19 and they don't even have to test. Anything is a COVID-like symptom. They keep extending the goalpost. It's a loop. He's 1,000% right. It's a never-ending loop until people get this. And the fact you have the most powerful man in the world, the president, who has hundreds of millions of people who idolize him like a deity, and he's lying on Fox News. He won't tell people the truth. He's doubling down on the wrong strategy because he doesn't want to admit it's wrong. He's saying all the wrong things. It is holding humanity back at this point. And it's not a minor disagreement I have with him. He's locking down the country in a tyrannical, in my opinion, communist, fascist angle that he's not railing against. He's not fighting against it. He's like a PR team for it now. I'm fighting CNN, I'm fighting Joe Biden, but I'm going to say the same thing that Dr. Fauci said 2 months ago. It's all wrong, and it's not like a little disagreement. He's keeping people in a loop that's never going to end. Hey, he said for you broke. Thank you, Heath. Someone said, I like Trump, but I'm with you with what he's doing, and I trust him. That's it. It's all love. At a certain point, it is what it is. I can't spin this in any other way. So I said, this is a trial run for how to manipulate us all? Absolutely. And it was creepy. Even Joe and Elon kind of mentioned that too, where Joe Rogan kept trying, this whole podcast, Rogan's trying to say, this is all okay. Like, he's trying to justify this. I mean, for as woke as Rogan pretends to be and for as cool as he is, I think he's a cool guy. He's kind of sneaky. He's always flip-flopping. He's always pretending like he's CNN and the New York Times. It's like at a certain point, he just disappoints time and time again. But I don't really expect much of Joe. I just kind of figured he's that guy now. But the whole time, Joe's trying to justify the shutdown, and the whole time Elon, like everything that Elon says, Joe tries to flip it back like he's CNN, and Elon keeps around. He's like, no, this isn't right. Like Joe's like, but it could have been bad, and Elon's like, it's not, and he's like, but it was the right decision, right? And Elon's like, no, it wasn't. He's like, but the mortality rate's pretty bad, and Elon's like, no, it's not, and like Elon's like, this is all wrong. He's like, it shouldn't have happened for this long. He said, and he even explained, this is why I like him. He's pretty straightforward. He said every U.S. company has factories in China. So he's like, I watched this all happen in China. They're back and running now. So every company's lying to you. They all have factories in China. They know, he said, I have 7,000 employees in China, some in Wuhan, I think. They all lived. 0 out of 7,000 people died in the heart of the epidemic. He's like, this is all a lie. And Joe's like, yeah, but I read the New York Times or whatever. And Elon's like, why? Man, I like the guy. I can't lie. And he's more right than Trump right now. That's all I'm saying. Someone said Taiwan has been doing well. Guys, the trap is what Elon and me have been saying for a month. It's how they're counting. Guys, if 10 people die from a disease, but I start counting anybody with a cough, anybody with a sneeze, anybody whose heart hurts, anybody, if I start broadening the list of what we're counting, the death rate's never going to go down. It's by design never going to end. We are absolutely in a loop, what he calls a mind virus. We're in a permanent loop mind virus that Trump himself is contributing to until people realize this. Taiwan is doing fine. China's doing fine. Africa's doing fine. Everywhere's doing fine because we're doing fine as well. They're just manipulating numbers and data and statistics and models to make you feel like you're not doing fine. And it's just read the book, How to Lie with Statistics. Guys, 3 million people die in this country every year. If you say 25% of them got COVID-19, when maybe in reality 1% of them died of COVID-19, not 25%, it's going to make a massive difference. And then you put it on television every day, and then you have bipartisan support. You have Lady Gaga and Stephen Colbert telling you you're a global citizen. You have Trump fighting against the WHO, but then putting the CDC to say the same exact thing. It's a game where you don't win. I don't care who you trust and who you don't trust, but overall, that's just the truth. Someone said, we regret ever being late. It's not only that we just closed down. We made a mistake. We learned more information. Trump made a massive mistake by extending the shutdown for 30 days and continuously putting Fauci on TV. Then he gave power to the governors to shut down for more days. Then he complained about Sweden and Georgia for opening up. Then he complimented, Democrat governors left and right because they complimented him. The whole thing is a scam, guys, and people are too... But this is why I say earlier, I don't care if you believe in God or not. I don't care what religion. I got Muslim supporters. I got Jewish supporters. I got Christian supporters. I got, Hindu supporters. It's all love. I don't care who you worship or who you don't worship. But don't worship human beings. And certainly don't treat politicians like idols or gods because they're going to lie to you. You could like Trump more than the next guy, but if you think he's the return of Jesus Christ, he's the president of the United States, and what he's doing is just not right. I like him. He'll probably get my vote, but overall, this is not good. And I think too many people have substituted, God with who they perceive as the guy who's here to bring about it. Someone said, why are they manipulating the numbers though? It's really simple. If you manipulate the numbers, you could shut down forever. So who doesn't want to open up? Who doesn't want to open up? Liberal people, the media, and Bill Gates and Fauci and those type of people. They don't want to open up, so you manipulate the numbers. You can forever justify why you don't open up. And at this point, they have so much influence, they don't even have to give an excuse for why they didn't do it. Cuomo, Murphy, Trump, Fauci, all of them, they all gave a guideline. Abbott, left to right, they all said, this is why we're shutting down. The mortality rate is extremely high. It's going to kill people. And we don't want to overwhelm the hospitals and kill more people. Those were the only two reasons for shutting down. Highly contagious, going to kill a lot of people, going to overwhelm hospitals. Didn't overwhelm the hospitals. They're actually bankrupting the hospitals because they screwed up so bad. Canceling people's elective surgery, which is not just plastic surgery. You're talking about cancer treatments and such. People didn't, the mortality rate is nowhere near what they said it was. And they just keep moving the goalposts. And why do people put up with it? I can't tell you. I don't operate like other people, so I don't exactly know why people think it's acceptable. Maybe they watch NBC or CNN. Maybe they watch Fox News and believe everything Trump says. I can't tell you, but it's not right. And every day that people don't get this, I'm going to play this clip again because this is the flat out truth. We're caught in a loop based off fake numbers, and until we get real data, it's never going to end.
People to homes. So we need to break out of this. We're stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
And I think the way to break out of this loop is to have clarity of information.
It's the only way. Clarity of information. If we're getting false data from both sides of the political aisle, this is why we can't just trail politicians. And I've gotten a lot of message from a lot of big Trump supporters this week who said, Anomaly, I love what you're doing. Thank you so much. You made me see the light. They control the flow of information. So everyone's arguing about Kavanaugh, left wing, right wing. Trump's fighting CNN, but they're both virtually doing the same thing with this COVID-19 stuff. And then Elon Musk is working on a company to plant computer chips in human brains, or computer modules in human brains. That never gets talked to because CNN and Fox News, they don't talk about anything of importance. They don't talk about it's all, and the damage that the news does, the damage that they do in the commercials, and the damage that they inflict upon society by dumbing us down with such mindless topics and mindless left to right battles. They're responsible, in my opinion, for more death and destruction than COVID-19 will ever do. Just the damage they do in a year alone. They have that much influence. What do people eat? What do people buy? What do people listen to? What do people believe? Who do they vote for? Everything they do is a lie. They're like, if you want to talk about demons and devil, I mean, it's hard for me to think that that's not a devil operation, And I'm not saying literally, but, spiritually, they invert reality. They invert good and say it's evil. They invert evil and make it good. It's as demonic as anything you could possibly imagine. One thing, too, because I just got a whole list of stuff they talked about. Elon mentioned that, because Joe Rogan was like, is this a political issue? And Elon Musk said, listen, people are politicizing it, but at the end of the day, this is a civil liberties issue. This is not a political issue. It's a civil liberties issue. We're giving up our civil liberties far too easy. And I think what Elon Musk knows, and if Joe Rogan doesn't know this yet, or he pretends like he doesn't know it, he's just a phony, or he's just lying so they don't get mad at him or something. I don't know. I like the guy, but he's a little disingenuous sometimes, in my opinion. Who protects civil liberties? And people say, Anomaly, why do you still lean? What side of the political debate, if any, protects civil liberties? Liberals just don't protect civil liberties anymore. Democrats don't protect civil liberties. Find me a Democrat. The closest Democrat you could think of that even remotely tries to protect civil liberties is Noam Chomsky, who's getting older and he thinks like Donald Trump is like Hitler or something. He's not making sense anymore. Bill Maher, who's a total disingenuous phony who makes sense once every 2 weeks. And then Joe Rogan, who apparently can't even figure this stuff out. So there is no civil liberties on the left wing anymore. It's not a political issue, but why do I vote right wing? Or why am I going to? Why am I still going to support the president even though I think he's lying? Because the left wing doesn't support civil liberties anymore. There's nothing going... Name one Democrat or 5 Democrats who support civil liberties. There's not a single one. Although even if it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of the right wing, they might be wrong and I might complain about it a lot because I have a heavily right-leaning audience. I still support you guys. I do it to challenge you. It's like Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman at halftime, Scottie Pippen, talking to the team, being like, yo, let's get it together. That's the vibes I'm giving. I know it can be mean sometimes, but I say that because I know the only side of the political spectrum right now who is supporting civil liberties is the right wing. So it's not a political issue, it's a civil liberties issue, that's true. But politically, one side doesn't care about civil liberties at all, and the other side does. It's pretty obvious. Someone said, if you're looking at inverting, look at pictures of Grimes. Yeah, I mean, Elon's girlfriend is a wild chick. I was looking at some of her videos. They were bugging me out. She's like singing crazy songs. Listen, I can't, I'm not, just like I'm not a PR team for Trump, I'm not a PR team for Elon. God bless Elon and his new baby. He just had a baby. God bless Grimes. But I have no idea that's not my type of music. I was like, whoa. It was a little too much for me. But, overall, all I could do is tell you the truth about what's going on and certain things. When I agree with Elon, they're like, what about his girlfriend? I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on there. She's like an elf or something, like an elven warrior. That's, some people are into, Elon likes it freaky, He has to get freaky or something. That's on him, At a certain point, you build enough spaceships, you get a little freaky. That's not my business. Someone said the comment the other day on here, yeah, it was a great comment. Someone said we're not the home of the brave anymore, so we're not the land of the free. The second we stop being brave, we stop being free. That's what it is. Someone said Washington is only looking out for Washington. They're playing a different game than you. And I want people to understand as well, at a certain level, even Donald Trump. Listen, I like the guy. I've made thousands of videos supporting him. He grew up wealthy. I'm not smearing him like Don Lemon or low energy, what's his name? What's that guy's name? Jim Acosta? Morons. But he grew up wealthy. And then he did a lot more than a lot of wealthy people. I'm not saying he didn't earn it. He earned it. He's a great guy. But he doesn't understand what it's like to be poor middle class and have to wear a mask everywhere and lose your business. Trump's not losing his business. At least not, they're trying. But he doesn't have to wear a mask. And I'm not smearing him like Jim Acosta. He's not wearing a mask like me. But it's like, it's true. He's in a room with 20 people. Can I go in a room with 20 people? No. If I was Trump and they made him wear a mask all the time, I bet he'd be a lot quicker to be like, this is BS. But he doesn't have to deal with this stuff, guys. And it's okay to admit that. It's not all his fault, but I don't think he cares as much as people think he cares. I think Elon legitimately actually cares. I mean, he doesn't have to say all this stuff. He's got a lot of money too, but he's saying it. I don't know. I'm going to read this real quick. Oscar said, Oscar, you're on the air. God bless, brother. Oscar said, my sister's coworker had a cousin who died in Jersey City. He had bad congestion and could barely breathe. He died of a heart attack. No one wanted to pick up the body for a week. I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Yeah, people are afraid to even touch each other, right? I can't imagine what that's doing to the medical industry. Someone said, look into Andrew Yang, please. He's a centrist. I'm not going to lie. I think Andrew Yang is funny. I think he's interesting. I think he runs his Twitter account well. I think he's better than a lot of people, but I'm not a big fan of Andrew Yang. I think he's a little sneaky too, but, he's on CNN. He's always talking about Russia. He's always just sneaking, being a little sneak. But it's okay, to each their own. I think he's a little interesting, but I'm not a Yang Gang fan. But don't hate me for saying it. I know Yang Gang, I will say, they're the nicest group. You never get yelled at by Yang supporters, Even you can make fun of Andrew Yang and they'll just still be nice to you. Bernie supporters are ready to just burn your house down. Trump supporters love Trump, and understandably so. Hillary supporters just, what are you doing, you crazy Trump supporter? It's like, but Yang Gang supporters, has anyone ever got yelled at by an Andrew Yang supporter? They're like, guys, UBI. They're like, universal basic income. All right. Someone said he's a total loon. I mean, he seems all right, but I don't trust him. A little too sneaky for me. Anomaly rating, 5 out of 10. He gets a D-, but, I'm only one person. Someone said the homeless will survive. Yeah, their immune systems are phenomenal because they have 50,000 diseases already. They're like, we're going to check in the tri-state area the homeless people to see if they have COVID-19. I'm like, guys, they have AIDS, tuberculosis, hepatitis. Like, okay, they have COVID-19. The dude's skin is rotting out. He has, like, crocodile, from, like, snorting freaking powder. And they're like, he has COVID. I'm like, guys, what disease doesn't he have? They're like, let's pick up the homeless, test them for COVID, and drop them off on the street. It's like, guys, politicians are just showing you how ridiculously incompetent they are. They should never, ever get this type of power again. This is terrible. Someone said, does Yang have supporters? Yeah, I think so. I saw him at the farmer market one time. I was like, they were like, Yang Gang. I was like, oh, snap. Jay said, don't you think it's strange that not many people are discussing what we're going to do, where, and who's responsible for the virus? I mean, I'm going to stick on the Elon thing because, we're building off his podcast, but he calls it a mind virus. He said, I think globalization is bad. He said, I sympathize with people who are against it, nationalists, because he says, he called it a mind virus, but that's what the whole world will just believe something and it just spreads rapidly. It's really not good because everything they spread is always like not the right thing. And then you say the right thing and no one knows. So I hear what you're saying. Someone said the pandemic video was viewed by 500 million people last night on YouTube. I don't know if it got 500 million, but maybe collectively. I'll tell you what, though. People keep re-uploading it. This morning it was trending on Twitter or YouTube. So, no weapon against me shall prosper, a.k.a. you attack me, I get stronger, a.k.a. Judy Mikovits said, you delete it, they re-upload it, you delete it, I just get... So people are going to watch it either way. They could delete it all they want, but I'm telling you, it's getting big numbers. A lot of people saw it already, and they're gonna keep seeing it. So the more they delete it, the more people watch it. So they could try to delete that documentary, but it's not gonna work. All right, I'm gonna stay for like 10 more minutes, and then I'm gonna edit my video, put it out later tomorrow. I got a great video on the Tanzania president. It's gonna be a fun one. Someone said Yang supporter told me I should have a better job when I got laid off. Well, okay, so there is a mean Yang supporter. He's like, get a better job. You're like, calm down, Yang gang. I guess I've just never seen a mean one. Someone said, I appreciate your non-drama, fact-based approach. Rare. It is rare. It was interesting because Rogan and Elon were talking about the news, and Joe Rogan was like, I like the New York Times and the LA Times. And I'm just like... And Elon kind of said, basically, he was like, it's impossible to find good news. And he said that you should follow individual journalists or individual people in the news rather than the news source, which is true. I'm telling you, to me, it was a good interview. I don't have to agree with everything. I think Neuralink is kind of creepy, but overall, I do understand on a philosophical sense, you could say Elon Musk shouldn't do that, but Google's going to do something like that. Facebook's going to do something like that. You know, China's going to do something like that. That's just the reality. It's the same, to me, it's the same psychology or philosophy behind, you know, get rid of your army and everyone will get rid of your army. It's like the liberal approach of, you know, I'm not going to have a gun, so criminals won't have one. That's not really how it works. So, you know, I see that angle of it. I really do. And it's not dramatic or emotional. It's just, and it's not, and then people say, he's shilling for Elon. No, that's just the truth. Like, you could think about what you want. I just think it's interesting. Thank you, Sin. I appreciate it. Someone said, your common sense escaped from the echo chamber. Yeah, I'm not trying to, you know, it's not a competition, but honestly, the whole reason I even got into news analysis is because everybody's so bad. I didn't want to do this. I like it now. I enjoy it a lot. But I'm not somebody who wanted to talk to the camera. I'm actually kind of shy. You get better the more you do it. Anything. Rap. I've been shy my whole life. I'm actually just 10, 15 years of doing the same thing. You get used to it, and then you start talking. I didn't want to do this. I just got so tired of everybody else lying all the time. Even now, the people who get the most upset with me, I'm like, they don't even know why they're upset. Like, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not I'm not telling people how to think or what to think. I'm just saying, people are like, I hate Donald Trump. I hate everything he does. I hate Elon Musk satellites. I hate everything he does. Why do you have... I'm like, guys, I don't operate like that. Like, even... I disagree with certain people in the conservative movement. You're never going to hear me say nothing they do is right. Like, you know, I have my moments with like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and what I think about their free speech stance. I think it's a little weak, but I'm never going to say they don't do good stuff. Like, you listen to a Ben Shapiro speech at, you know, the pro-life thing, it's good. You know, Charlie is on college campuses. He gets people involved. I'm very fair. You know, I'm one of the fairest people, and I don't try to be. I just think it's like, I don't know. I don't understand why people don't want to be fair. I don't know. They're just like, I'm going to be angry and I'm just going to say nothing they do is right. It's like, no, they do some things right. They do a lot right. Some things I disagree with, and that's okay. That's how the world works. Someone said it here, and that's why I love, we got the best audience. We got all sorts of people, all ages, all 10 million genders. You know, we got everybody. We got moms. We got non-moms. But like someone said the other day, I seriously think it was one of the most brilliant things. She said, you don't even agree with your kids. I don't even have to agree with my kids. Why would I have to agree with everything that a politician says? That's the most simple thing that no one has ever said or thought of in my scope. That's it. It's like, you don't have to agree with your kids. You don't have to agree with your parents all the time. Why in the world would you agree with a politician who's turning your country into communism? Why do you have to agree with 100% of what they say? Genius. And it didn't come from the think tanks in Washington. It came from a mom that listens to my channel, because that's how hard we crush here. All right, I'm having a good time. This one's gonna stay up. This one's gonna stay up. We're having good here. I'm not gonna say anything crazy, so we're gonna keep it up. I'm gonna read Mikey. You're on the air, brother. Let's see, Mikey Romano. God bless. Mikey said, dude, I'm a bartender. It was getting so frustrating dealing with people before. Everyone was so one-sided and politically correct. I couldn't even crack jokes without offending someone. Yeah, it's embarrassing how politically correct people are. I hear you. I probably, you must be in a liberal city or something, but I just say whatever. I don't really care. They're like, well, what did you mean when you said, gender? I was like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Well, the way you said gender, like this beer, you don't know if those Bavarian hops were male or not. You're like, I didn't say that, but okay. Jen said, I appreciate your view. There's two sides, good or evil. One of the wisest things I've heard Jesse Lee Peterson say, he's a bit controversial. I like the guy a lot. If you don't know Jesse Lee Peterson, he's a national treasure for sure. He always says there's no such thing as racism. And it's crazy because you're like, what are you talking about? There's racist people. There's people who hate other races. And Jesse's an older black guy who grew up on a plantation under Jim Crow laws. He always talks about it. So you're like, why does an older black guy who grew up under a racist era think there's no racism? It's crazy when he says it. People can't handle it. But his response is brilliant. He says, there's only right and wrong, and good and evil, or true or false. That's all it is. And everybody makes mistakes. So it's like you could, either it's right or wrong. Either it's good or evil. These words and even politicians and stuff, this is how they trap us, guys. You could like Trump, you could like me, you could hate Trump, you could hate me, whatever. Either what I'm saying is true or it's not. Either it's right or it's wrong. That's just how the world works. So, people make mistakes. So when we throw these labels on it, racism, Republican, and I'm not saying I'm going to vote a certain way anyway, but it's like, this is how we think, and if you disagree with this, you're not us. I'm a liberal now, according to some people, because I like freedom. It's like they don't like freedom, and I'm liberal. It makes no sense because they're in the team sport. And it's the same with, the words racism, anti-Semitism, sexism. I was on a podcast, and he tried to ask me if this book was anti-Semitic, and I wouldn't say it. It's not because I don't believe in people who are hatred towards an entire group of people. I don't stand for that. But those words, racist, sexist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, they're all ways to just stop the conversation. The conversation's over. We can have an intellectual discussion about, the history of the world without using those words. We could use the words good. We could use the words evil. We could use the words hateful, angry, disgusting, wrong. It's wrong. But I don't like using those words, and I refuse to do it because I just think it's so counterproductive. And I love that Jesse says that, because it's even with this, with Elon, with Trump, it's hard to talk to people because people are like, anomaly, how dare you compliment Elon Musk? He was right. I don't know why I can't say that. All right, let's see what's going on. Someone said, only two genders? Well, I mean, listen, don't get crazy here. This is my channel. We respect all 10 billion genders here, okay? Something happened with Flynn. I'm trying to read. Let's see. Oh, Flynn got exonerated? I think DOJ drops the case against Michael Flynn. Congratulations to General Flynn. It looks like they dropped the case on him. That's live breaking news right now. So, that's great. Let's see. That's good news, but we still need to get out of this communist lockdown. But congrats to General Flynn; he deserves it, and the evidence was obvious. I'm gonna read this. President's talking about Flynn. Yeah, it's good. Someone said, "You're the only person I listen to pertaining to this mess. Other than this, I'm maintaining my daily life." Awesome, Tammy. It sounds like you're a lot healthier than a lot of other people. What do I think about the walkaway movement? Democrats switching to Republican. No, I think it's, I like Brandon. I think it's good. He even told me that my video kind of helped inspire his movement, and I helped bring that up with him. So I think it's good, but I don't want people to, go blue-red and then just become team red. I think that could be a little damaging. So I think overall, it's good to get away from the liberal ideology, but, don't get trapped in the Republican zeitgeist as well, because a lot of people on the Republican side, they're just team red. And although I might agree with them more than I disagree, eventually they're going to mislead you too, or not care when it's an important issue because their team did it. So I think, what do I think of the jogger? I don't know much about the case, and I think it's one of those cases that that we need to wait for. It's like Covington kids. Everybody screamed at it. I'm not even gonna lie. Even at first, I was like, "Yo, what are these kids doing?" But overall, I think we gotta wait to see the more information. I'm not really sure, and that's not a cop out. It's just like the people who jump on this stuff early are usually wrong. Someone said it sucks to be free during lockdown. That's a profound statement. What do you think of the stores running out of meats? I think it's happening. I think it's absolutely happening, and I think that I'm not trying to blame Trump, but Trump keeps saying the meat industry's fine. I think he's wrong. I think Thomas Massey's right. I think Elon Musk is right. You can't just throw money at the meat industry and say it's open. You gotta open. You gotta let people be free, and they're not doing that. So I think the meat industry is being massively threatened, just like every industry is. And I don't know. It doesn't matter who says it isn't. It's like Trump's like, the meat industry's fine because I said so. It's like, no, it's not, dude. Just, you have to open up. You have to stop touting these numbers and like fully open up like tomorrow, today, yesterday, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, the meat industry is real. Monday, that's an awesome name. Someone said, it's my second favorite day besides Sunday. Why do people take Bill Gates' word over Elon Musk? They act like Bill Gates' opinion is more valid, giving him interviews about the virus for some reason makes no sense at all. No, I hear you. I would say Bill Gates is far more creative. I would say Elon Musk is far more creative and innovative and unique. But Bill Gates is the agenda. You know, Bill Gates is the agenda of liberal news. Elon Musk is totally outside that zeitgeist. He does everything right. It's the same with Tara Reid versus why do they not care about that? Because they're not on the right team. Elon does everything right as far as his life. He does everything liberal, space, solar energy. He should be a hero, but he says CNN's fake news. He says the Covid19 scam is being misrepresented, which it is. He says globalization isn't good because people now are just brainwashed. He says stuff like that. So that's why Bill Gates gets more play, because the media favors him massively, and Elon's much more unscripted and free in my perspective, just like a Trump. Even though Trump does a lot of stuff they might like, why do they hate Trump? Seems like they just don't like anybody who goes against what they want people to believe. Someone said Trump is controlled by his ego. It's stopping him. It does seem like a play, and even I'll say this. I don't like to talk bad about anybody, but when Elon Musk responded to my tweet, it wasn't a tweet. I wasn't saying, Elon Musk, I'm a huge fan. You're the best. I was just talking. And Elon responded with a profound statement that had nothing to do with stroking his own ego. It was like, this is what's happening with COVID-19. If you look at all the stuff Trump retweets, it's all people who stroke his ego. Why does he agree with Governor Murphy over, Governor Kemp? Governor Kemp's doing the right thing. He's not doing fascism. He's doing freedom. Trump would rather a tyrannical governor compliment him than he would a freedom-loving governor disagree with him. I think Trump's ego is a huge issue now. I never really cared. I'm like, dude, he's strong. He loves himself. He loves this country. Let the boy go. He's a strong boy. It's like he's got to be a little crazy. I like it. I've always liked it. I've always defended him. I've always, kept it real. But at this point, if you're going to get more mad at Governor Kemp than you're going to get mad at, at Murphy for not believing in the Bill of Rights, there's something wrong with the guy, and there's something wrong with the way he's thinking. So the more people who say it, I think will be helpful. Someone said Bill. Yeah, I'm not a big Bill Gates guy, but you guys know that. Tumpa, what's going on? That's a cool name. Someone said Flynn's exonerated. Heads are going to start rolling now. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, and I think this is what I'm looking for, and I've mentioned it, but in the Flynn case, now he's exonerated. That was bound to happen. You have the Durham report. This is a big one. A lot of people, especially people who love Trump, a lot of people are waiting to see what the Durham report says. They're looking into Comey, Brennan, Strzok, the whole Russia thing. It's the counter to the Russia Mueller investigation. They're basically investigating the investigation, which was riddled with lies, hypocrisy, and colluding. Everything they claimed Trump was doing, they were doing. So it'll be interesting to see what the Durham report does. There's kind of two frames of mind right now. In the Trump side, some people think that this is going to be explosive in the sense of hundreds and thousands. I mean, there's millions of Trump supporters who think that, and I won't even say Trump supporters, around the world, patriots who think that thousands of people are going to get arrested. I don't think so, although we can all hope and dream, but they think it's going to be the biggest thing ever. I think what's more realistic, but it's a possibility. I hope that a lot of bad people get held accountable, but there's also the possibility that a few people get held accountable. And by held accountable, I know somebody went on Fox News. That guy's a legend. I mean, he went on and said, I think they deserve to be executed. I was like, whoa, that guy's got balls of steel to go on national television and say that they deserve the death penalty. I was like, that boy going hard in the paint. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he was like an government guy. There's a possibility that happens. That would be the biggest moment in modern history. But there's also a possibility that they just get a slap on the wrist or like a minor thing. And my one concern would be, you guys see what's going on now. You see what's going on in the meat industry, the country, the hospitals. I mean, we just witnessed a tyrannical, total stealing of our freedoms, our jobs. This is the worst thing I've seen in modern history in my lifetime, by far. That just happened. So my one concern is the Patriots and the Trump supporters that are all into the Durham report. If it's not a bombshell like they've been predicting with thousands of arrests for years, are they going to celebrate like it is as their country's being left behind, as Trump is still inflating the statistics and really keeping us locked down? Are they going to act like it's this massive win even if it's not? And if it is, then it is, So that's my only concern, because people are it's the same thing with like the left wing and the shutdown. The goalposts always move. They're like, this is going to happen, and then they move, and then it extends. And at this point, it's like, to me, it's not really impressive if they hold Brennan and Comey accountable, but at the same time they just lock down half the country. Like, to me, it's a big difference. Lock up Hillary Clinton and we get to be free, to like Hillary Clinton's still free and we're all locked up. To me, the reality is saying, okay, this is not good. But to other people, they're like, just wait. So that's my one, concern is like, will people overreact if this is if they undermine us? And we'll see though. Thank you, Tor. So I said, I mean, this whole situation's even... what just happened here is worse than Russia collusion. Russia collusion was bad. This is like 10 times worse than that. So if they took that long to deal with Russia collusion, this is a whole new bag of tricks. You better hope it's related to the Durham report, because if it's not going to matter. But we'll see. No, what they did is nuts. I don't even want to think about it at this moment because I'm having a good day. So I said he's not making the numbers inflated. He is inflating the numbers. I know. You don't want to face it, but it's okay. He is inflating the numbers. He's saying 3 million people would have died. He's bashing Sweden. Someone said, I'm from New Jersey, and I saw him compliment Murphy. Yeah, a lot of people have cognitive dissonance, but it's just true. He's all over Murphy because Murphy compliments him, but Murphy compliments him because he's letting Murphy undermine the Bill of Rights, and, Trump doesn't seem to really care. It's not good, but so many people are going to ignore it, but I'm not, so it is what it is. All right. I got to stretch out a little bit. I hear you, Misty. What? Someone said, I'm working, I never stopped. That's a good thing. Someone said Brian Dean Wright was the ex-CIA on Fox talking about treason. Yeah, that guy's got nuts of steel. Listen, I appreciate anybody that's brave. To me, that was a brave moment. I was like, that boy going in. I was like, some is coming in hot on Fox News. I saw it on Twitter. I was like, that boy going. He's talking treason. We'll see, though. We'll see. But to me, even if they hold people accountable in a big way, it still doesn't address this. Like, if Hillary gets locked up off of real charges and we're free, that's a win. If Hillary doesn't get locked up and the whole country's locked up, even if they lock up 2 people, at this point, to me, it's not really... like, people are going to celebrate, but it's like, it's only impressive if they don't also lock the whole country up. Like, am I crazy to think that? People are like, anomaly, who's paying you to say that? No one's paying me to say it. I'm just saying it because it's blaringly obvious. Like, at what point during the election was I like, are they going to lock the whole country up instead of the bad people? This is all bad. So I'm like, are they going to address this or no? Are they just going to throw a bone to the supporters and people are going to eat it up? I'm not eating it up. You got to free the country first. I'm not impressed. All right. Someone said, I'm going to read this. We got Ron. What's up, Ron Ramirez? God bless, brother. He said, I work for Quest Diagnostics. We had to furlough all kinds of employees because people are not going to the doctor as regular. Everybody's seeing the furloughs. Absolutely. They've canceled elective surgeries. I suggest, if you guys don't, want to watch the Elon Musk Joe Rogan interview. You don't have to agree with everything. You could think Elon's sneaky. A lot of people do. I personally like the guy. It's like I respect him 1,000 times more than Bill Gates. And to be quite frank, I think he's a pretty straight shooter, really. It's like Trump. When Trump disagrees with me, I don't have to play games because he's very straightforward, and I respect that. You know, if Trump wants to go after Iran, and I don't have to think about what Trump wants to do. He'll tweet it in all capital letters. So I think Elon's the same way. He's a very straightforward guy. I don't understand the big holdup, but someone said this. Daniel said, what's up, Dan? Is it possible that you're being stubborn to the fact that Trump might be misled? You're supposedly considering all possible realities. No, I personally, I absolutely think he's being misled. I think either he's purposely doing it, which is a smaller percentage of it. I don't think he would do this. I absolutely think he's being misled. The problem is, if I say that, people who support him freak out. But I say it anyway. I didn't word for word say it this time, but I've already said it 50 times. I think for sure he's being misled. What he's doing is not right. So either he's purposely doing it or he's being those are the only two options. But if I say that, people are like, no, he's not. So we take little steps to get there, and then we say it anyway. But I've said that before. What's happening is not right. And I don't know who's told him or why he thinks that, but to me, that's irrelevant. Erroneous. Someone said Elon Musk is also nuts. I mean, Trump is nuts. Elon Musk is nuts. Kanye West is nuts. You know, some of the world's most interesting people are, in fact, nuts. I think that kind of comes with the territory. People always said that to me with the president, too. Why won't he stop tweeting? Because if he stopped tweeting, he wouldn't be Trump. And if he wasn't Trump, he wouldn't be in the office. And if he wasn't in the office, you wouldn't like him. So, you know, let the boy tweet. Let Elon Musk be crazy. It's okay. Someone said, I trust Elon Musk more than rich people. I think trust is earned. You know, Elon, to this point, has earned my trust as far as I want to give it. Am I going to, you know, like live in his basement or something and trust him with my life? No, it's not that serious. Just out of every billionaire, I trust him wildly, wildly more than the Warren Buffetts and the Bill Gates of the world. It's not even close. I trust him 1,000 times more. And he's earned that through, you know, keeping it real when he didn't have to. With Trump, he earned my trust for a while, but right now, I'm not going to lie, he's breaking my trust, you know? He's breaking my trust with this pandemic. I mean, this is crucial, and he's doubling down on the wrong answer. And, you know, he can earn it back. He can earn it back, and Elon could lose it further. But my level of trust, it's not like I trust them with the whole world. I'm just like, you know what? That's how I feel right now. Someone said, you are just too thick to interpret what he's saying. Rickon, what do you think he's saying, brother? He said 2 to 3 million people would have died if he didn't shut down. He's complimenting the governor of New Jersey, who doesn't believe in the Bill of Rights. He's bashing Sweden for having too much freedom, and he's mad at Georgia for opening up too soon because they didn't listen to Trump's tyrannical, you know, phase plan. I mean, I think you're too thick to ever acknowledge that. I don't know. There's no thickness here. It's like, you know, it's very thin. I got a nice thin coffee. It's not a thick cappuccino. It's like, it's okay. We had a good time. Nobody bugged out. Everybody got it. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin a good time. Daniel, thank you, brother. No problem, yeah. Mary said Trump is being played just like the rest of us. I think so, but it is what it is. Phil said, what do you think about David Icke? Have you seen his London Real Talks? So with David Icke, I have seen his London Real Talks, but I've listened to David Icke for years. I've heard about him for a couple years now. So I was kind of excited to see him getting more famous because you know, he had very little engagement on Twitter a couple weeks ago until that interview got deleted. Then he was massive, and then they deleted him off Facebook and YouTube, which I just don't think is fair because they have double standards for what they do and they don't delete. You could say that David Icke's wrong in his theory of why he thinks that coronavirus is doing damage, but the World Health Organization's been wrong 10, 15 times. So even if you don't agree with David Icke, they don't. They have double standards with who's allowed to lie, who's allowed to tell the truth, who's allowed to make mistakes, and who's not allowed to make mistakes. The mainstream media and the World Health Organization have made more mistakes than most people have, but they have no consequences. They only get rewarded. So I think it's unfair what happened to him. But as far as that interview and others, I've always liked David, and I just think he's a very interesting guy, and I think he has very interesting theories. And certain things I disagree with, certain things I agree with, but overall, I think one of the things he always talks about is like problem solution in order to accomplish something. I think that's a very true way of how the world works, and I think it's not only speculative, it's documented. You could look at history, declassified documents, and they've always done this. They've always done, we need to do this, so let's do this, and then people will let us do this. So I think he's, I personally like the guy. I think he's wildly interesting. Someone said deleting free speech is suspicious. Absolutely. And it's just have consistency. If you're going to fact check, make sure you know your facts and make sure you do it to everybody. If you're going to delete David Icke and Paul Joseph Watson and stuff, delete the crazy left-winger who lies. They don't, you get what I'm saying? They have no consistency. And I don't agree with censorship anyway, but it's like, if you're going to do that, which I don't think you should do, at least just be honest about it. Because if you compare what David Icke's said over the last year and what the World Health Organization, New York Times, and CNN said, I don't know that they're any better. They just present themselves more professionally than David does in a news format, so they've given themselves authority. But I mean, they've been wildly, CBS News aired footage from Italy instead of New York. Instead it was New York. They always make mistakes. They said, World Health Organization said the death rate was 3.4%. What's a bigger mistake if you perceive it as a mistake? David Icke having the wrong opinion or perspective on what he thinks is going on, or the World Health Organization that has 10,000 times more power than David Icke has being wrong about the mortality rate and convincing half the world to shut down and destroy the economy? These people are evil. They say you're not allowed to make a mistake, but we can make a mistake that's 100,000 times more costly, and we'll never punish ourselves. You get punished instead. These people are evil. So, that's what I think. Thank you, Laura. Someone said they said you can't protest in New York. That's also in the Elon Musk. He mentioned that in the Joe Rogan podcast as well. He said the First Amendment says the right to assembly. It's in the Bill of Rights. It's in the Constitution. It's in the First Amendment. They're taking that away, and I'm telling you, he crushed that interview. I'm just gonna say, thought it was good. Guys, don't ruin a good stream. I'm not. Someone say, sometimes you need to let evil show itself front and center before you call it out. Stand by. Guys, we've seen it for 3 years. If you justify what just happened because you think it's purposely happening, they purposely just tanked the country, the meat market, tens of millions of people's jobs, bankrupted the hospitals to show you who these people were. You could stay here, but it's like, just stop. You're going to ruin a really fun stream. Don't do it. Because at a certain point, those are the same games that these people play. If we destroy the lives of tens of millions of people, it's going to increase the greater good. You become evil. If that's how you think, you become evil. You're like, I think it's okay to ruin hundreds of millions of people's lives because I think the world needs to see who these people are. Everyone already knows who they are, okay? This isn't showing you who they are. This is showing you what happens when those people are in power, which is tyranny. So justifying tyranny, and in many cases fascism, and in many cases, the most costly thing, if you're justifying this, just stop. Just don't ruin a good stream. It's evil. What's my stance on UBI? I don't. That's not how the world works. I don't agree with it. I think they've implemented it now because you have a Republican president who's implementing communism, and I think it's terrible. I think people should go back to work. I never agreed with what Andrew Yang said. His whole ideology was made no sense to me. He said, well, this is going to happen, so this is going to happen. They've been saying since the Industrial Revolution, well, now we don't have farmers, now we have tractors. They always say this, but innovation and humanity always wins. Uber, Lyft, Postmates. There's always been more innovative job, and with more technology has come, in many ways, more freedom, more flexible hours, and, it's every prediction from 1930 until now, it's going to lead to millions of people losing their jobs. The Andrew Yangs of the world have been predicting this for decades, and before this manufactured Great Depression, we had a strong job market despite all the technology, because you can innovate with technology, even to the point when it's like interfacing AI everywhere. It doesn't just delete humans off the planet. That's a pessimistic communist view, I think. So they've been saying this. What Andrew Yang is saying is not a new theory. They've been saying this for 100 years, and they've statistically always been wrong. And now that we have universal basic income under Trump, look around. I think it's terrible, and it's simultaneous. It's synonymous with a government that takes control of your life. Say that the foreign companies are taking over. I mean, I got to look into it, but I'm sure that's happening. I'm sure nobody wants to talk about it. On the Trump side, they're like, no, this is Trump's secret plan to save us all. It's like, no, guys, he's shutting down millions of American companies. Foreign companies are taking over. China's been open for a month now. So, they're doing just fine. But we're all suffering. And that's somehow part of some good plan from the angels to save us all. Whatever. All right, I got a couple more minutes now. I'm gonna take off. We're gonna leave it. Someone said New York is gonna end up looking like a video game. We'll see. Someone said Trump wants to win the next election. Probably, guys. I mean, there's a lot of things politicians will do to win elections, but as an American citizen, it should be shockingly obvious why you should never give up your civil liberties. It's like, the CEO of Bayer needed to sell the pills to make the more money, so that's why he sold the pills. That's fine, but you don't have to justify the behavior just because that's what they're doing. Trump absolutely wants to win an election at the cost, apparently, of the entire country. So, as a citizen, either you're a PR team for a tyrannical situation, or you're you stand up for your civil liberties. I don't understand the play. Instead of being here, guys, I could go work for the Trump campaign and just make excuses for Trump, but I don't work for the Trump campaign, and neither do you. It's like, what? It's just so bizarre. They're like, well, Trump wants to win the election. Of course he does. That's exactly what he's doing, but it's at the expense of your freedom. So it shouldn't be okay with you. Well, Bill Clinton wants to win the election, so he's just going to lie to everybody. Well, yeah, that's what he's doing, but that doesn't make it right. Someone said, I cut Trump some slack. You could cut him some slack, but at the end of the day, I'm going to leave before this gets too weird. At the end of the day, guys, until Trump tells the truth, or until people get past their obsession and get to the truth, we're stuck in a loop. We're stuck in a loop of fake data. We're stuck in a loop of tyranny. We're stuck in a loop of UBI and communism. We're stuck in a loop of government-forced shutdown of businesses. We're stuck in the loop of a phase plan. We're stuck in the loop of medical tyranny. We're stuck in the loop of medical, mandatory things that they can't even figure out why they're doing them, but they're just winging it and telling you they have science when they really don't. Every scientific point they've had the whole time has been debunked, and they just keep moving the goalposts, and no one seems to notice. We're never getting out of this loop. So if you want to make excuses for why he's not telling the truth and why he's deceiving millions of people, that's fine, but I'm going to play this clip again. You're never getting out of the loop until you realize how they're counting, how they're lying, why this whole thing is wrong. It's never going to change. So, liberate yourself, or just get used to this type of lifestyle.
You don't even need to have gotten a COVID diagnosis. Right. You simply need to have had one of many symptoms and then have died for some reason, and it's COVID. So then it makes the death count look very high, and then we're then stuck in a bind because it looks like the death count's super high and not going down like it should be, and now. So then we should keep whatever, keep the shelter in place stuff there, and keep people in their home, confine people to their homes. So we need to break out of this. We're stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
And I think the way to break out of this loop is to have clarity of information.
Clarity.
That's it. We're stuck in a loop. The only thing that will break us out of this loop is a clarity of information. I'm going to wrap up right now, but overall, this is a never-ending loop based on fake mortality rates, fake death rates, a fake strategy, a fake testing strategy. Everything about it's fake, guys. Are the Democratic governors tyrannical? Absolutely. Is Trump clean? He has his hands clean. He has nothing to do with it? That's a lie. Guys, he implemented it. He put Fauci there. He allowed them to extend the lockdown. He rolled out the phase plan. He's defending it. He's pushing fake numbers. He's pushing fake predictions. He's still lying and deceiving the American people, whether you want to face it or not. And the longer you don't want to face it, the longer you're going to stay like this, because it's a loop of fake numbers, fake data, fake numerators, fake denominators, fake death rates, fake justification, fake, labeling. If you have a symptom of COVID, which could be as simple as a cough, they could say you died of COVID. Guys, they're rigging the numbers, and Trump has no strategy to tell you this. All he does is get on TV every day the last week and lie about it, and this is the loop. So overall, if you want to stay like this, keep lying to yourself and acting like he has no part in this. He has a massive part in this. Is it all his fault? No, it's the governor's fault. It's Fauci's fault. Who put Fauci on television? Who put him in the coronavirus task force? Who listened to him? Who extended the lockdown? Who put out the phase plan? Who's mad at Sweden for having too much freedom? Who's mad at Georgia for having too much freedom? It's all Trump, guys. He's in no way, shape, or form fighting this agenda. He's implementing it. He's promoting it. He's defending it. He's a PR team for tyranny, whether you want to admit it or not. I don't care. I sleep good at night because I'm not a liar, and I'm not fake. So I feel great about it. So overall, it doesn't matter why he's doing it or who he's doing it. If he's trying to win an election, play it again, and then we're going to leave. It's a loop. It's a loop of fake numbers, and anybody who keeps telling you those fake numbers, whether it's Trump, whether it's me, whether it's Ben Shapiro, whether it's Anderson Cooper, or whether it's freaking, Jimmy Kimmel, it doesn't matter. That is the lie. That is the trap. That is the loop. And the longer people deny that, the more you're going to stay here. And it's easily obvious how they're keeping people trapped down. So that's the most important takeaway from this. The trap, the loop, the lie, the never-ending moving on the goalposts is how they're counting COVID-19 deaths. And if you think it's okay for the President of the United States to be a PR team for those lies and continuously just push those statistics and never liberate tens of millions of people by telling him a very simple truth of how they're counting and how this is never going to end, it is never going to end. And when it involves your First Amendment, when it involves liberty, when it involves freedom, when it involves a manufactured Great Depression, when it involves everything that's happening now, you should care. You should have more allegiance to your freedom and this country and the things people died for and fought for. You should have more allegiance to that than one guy who's not telling the truth about it, guys. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, they didn't say, well, it's okay to give up your liberty and your freedom and totally just bow down to the government because Donald Trump is telling you to wait longer. That's nowhere in any of their quotes, because they didn't care if it's Trump, Obama, me. I don't care if it was me there. You should resist the same exact way. It's totally wrong, and this is how they're going to get you. So, you guys got to get through like the allegiance to it, because this is far beyond, far outreaching our civil liberties, and he's not helping. I'm sorry. The trap is the numbers. The trap is the strategy, both of which he still to this day supports and will never stop until you make him. People say, what about Fauci? Guys, it's up to you, and that's a beautiful thing. It's not scary. It's not. Someone said, why would he? It's not our job to figure out why or what or how or when. That's how you lose. It's our job to just say the truth. My job is not here to sit and make excuses for why he's lying. My job is to say, listen, whether it's Elon, whether it's Trump, I said Trump told the truth 1,000,000 times. Right now, he's wrong, and he's wrong at the most crucial point in history. And it's I don't care. I'll say it every day till the cows come home. God bless you guys. God bless America. God bless your family. God bless the world. And that is the trap. The trap is the numbers. Anybody who repeats the numbers is not trying to free you. It's really that simple. All right. Take care, guys. And I'll be back. This was a fun one. I'm going to keep it up for a while, if not forever. Yee.